Hello everyone and welcome back to the online video lecture of Class 8 History. This is Kavita and I hope you people are good and safe at home. So dear students, in today's video lecture, we are going to cover a very important chapter of our modern Indian history, that is the Revolt of 1857. The Revolt of 1857 is also known as the Sepoy Mutiny Revolt. So without wasting much time, let's get started with a...
In the previous chapter, we have read about that how the British began bringing Indian territories under their control, starting with the Battle of Plassey in 1757. A century after the British won the Battle of Plassey, a momentous event occurred. Some sepoys or Indian soldiers in British rose up in revolt against their masters. They were joined by certain native princes who felt that the British were threatening their power. Many ordinary people also became a part of this uprising, and this soon grew into a country-wide revolt. So, do you all know that when do people actually revolt, or what is the real cause of a revolt? A revolt is one of the many ways in which ordinary people express their unhappiness, yes, with the authorities. It is not every day that revolts occur, but when people feel that the existing situation has become unbearable, only then do revolts take place. Good leaders are required to organize mass revolts, and a strong central ideology is required to draw people to the cause. The discontent among the people has to be very genuine and deep-rooted. Revolts can also be quick and violent, or long-drawn and bloodless. So there are many kinds of revolts that used to take place. Now again coming to the causes of the uprising. What were the causes of the uprising of the revolt of 1857? Political factors, economic factors, social factors, religious factors, military factors, and many more. So coming to the political factors. British policies since the middle of the 18th century had gradually ousted many ruling groups from power. We have also learnt about that how the subsidiary alliance and the doctrine of lapse were instrumental in making the English East India Company and the paramount power in India. This robbed the political elite of their status and left them feeling humiliated. Most of the recruits of the Bengal army came from Awadh. When Awadh was annexed by the British, it caused deep anguish among the soldiers. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the Maratha Peshwa Baji Rao II, was denied his pension and forced to move to Kanpur from Pune, his family seat. The British declared the ruler of Ramgarh in the Mandala region, which is situated in Madhya Pradesh, unfit to rule. They refused to organize the Queen, Rani Avanti Bai Lodhi, as the legitimate ruler. And these events caused deep resentment among the rulers and the people of these kingdoms. The British attitude towards the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar added fuel to the fire. Lord Dalhousie ordered him and his family to move out of the Red Fort, which had been the residence of Mughal Emperor for centuries. And Lord Canning's, Dalhousie's successor, stated that the successor of Bahadur Shah would not be allowed to use the title of emperor. The Mughal power had shrunk by this time, but the Mughal emperor still commanded the respect among the ordinary people, which was a very big thing. Such insults were seen as acts of disrespect towards the Indian royalty. Then coming to the economic factors. The harsh land revenue policies introduced by the East India Company aimed at extracting the minimum and maximum land revenue. This left the peasants miserable and penniless. The new zamindars and moneylenders were very cruel and exploitative. Even the government offered no relief to the peasants. And because of such factors, famines began to occur with increasing regularity, leaving death and devastation behind. Whereas, on the other hand, the wealth extracted from India was fueling Britain's colonial expansion in the other parts of the world. By 1857, Britain was exporting large quantities of gold, silver, and other precious goods from India to England. This wealth was also used to finance the Industrial Revolution. We have read about the collapse of Indian handicrafts on account of the one-way free trade policy and high import duties levied on the Indian imports in Britain. And the collapse of indigenous craft left millions unemployed and starving. So this was the economic factors of the causes of uprising of revolt of 1857. Coming to the social factor. And unlike earlier invaders, the British never tried to become a part of Indian society. They remained perpetual foreigners, setting themselves apart from the local Indians were not permitted in the higher rank of the administration and the army. Apart from this racial discrimination, people felt threatened by the social reforms introduced by the British policies, like the abolition of Sati Pratha, introduction of Western education and support for Widow Remarriage Act, were looked upon with deep suspicion by the orthodox section of Indian society. Many Indians came to believe that the Britishers intended to convert them to Christianity, and this was the religious factor which rose the uprising of cause of revolt of 1857. This was in part due to the enthusiastic missionary activities of the British. There was a fear that the various social reforms started in this period were meant to rob the locals of their religion. Western education deprived the Muslims, the Maulvis, and the Hindu Pandits of their traditional roles. For the first time, taxes were imposed on lands where mosques and temples stood, and this was adding to the general apprehension of the people. Then it follows by the military factors, in which the East India Company maintained a well-trained army consisting of Indian sepoys, while the presidencies of Madras and Bombay had their own armies. The Bengal army was recruited from the regions in the Gangetic Valley. In 1816, a law was passed which required the sepoys to travel abroad if required. And this news was something which received with dismay, because Hindu soldiers were afraid that they would lose their caste if they travel abroad. The sepoys were often ill-treated and humiliated by the British officers. When Punjab and Awadh were annexed, the sepoys lost their extra pay called batta for service in these areas. And apart from this, Indians could never aspire to higher positions in the army. Sepoys were also deeply affected by the growing poverty of the peasantry, as the most of them belonged to the peasant families. All these factors created unhappiness and uncertainty among the sepoys and making them question their loyalty to the British. So these were the basic causes and the starting causes of the uprising of this revolt. Now coming to the immediate cause, that what was the immediate cause and which is somewhere the most important cause for the uprising of revolt of 1857, and this was that most of the historians believe that the issue of the Enfield rifle was the immediate cause of the revolt. Yes, you all must be heard the name of Mangal Pandey. We'll be continuing this later. Like, the discontent against the British had grown so much that this was enough to spark off the uprising. In 1856, a sepoys were issued a new gun, the Enfield rifle. And in order to load the rifle, the soldiers had to bite the cartridge, which was covered in a grease-coated paper to make it waterproof. And it was widely believed that the grease contained tallow and fat of animals, which were taboo for both Hindus and Muslims. Though British officers dismissed the entire story as baseless, but the story spread like wildfire among the sepoys. On 29th March of 1857, Mangal Pandey, a soldier of the 34th Bengal Infantry, refused to use the Enfield cartridge and opened fire on his superior officer. He was arrested and executed. And this incident showed that the sepoys were even prepared to face death to safeguard their religion. So we will study till here, and as this chapter is a bit long, we'll continue the next topics in our next video. Till then, keep watching, keep learning, and stay tuned.